Thank you very much. This is exciting. Oh, it's really fun up here, by the way. So this, when I think about confidence, I believe this comes from a greater self-awareness of self. And actually to kind of uncover your own confidence, I believe that you have to have experienced some level of hardship. You know, something deeply personal or something that's impacted you where you've had to build that resiliency, that mental toughness that Ollie so kindly shared with us earlier. And once you have a strong foundation and you have faith, you can inspire that confidence in others and you can gain that trust. So just to kind of open up this question, from a leadership perspective, how do you think of, and can you share your own journey of leadership and how you've kind of developed your own confidence? Who's going to take the first one?
Sure, happy to go first. I guess that was quite a
Can we
confident move
quite
there, right?
Loud into the lapel, please.
Fantastic. So as I was introduced, my background is in law. I started a huge mistake in my career journey, thinking this would be great and, watched too many of those kind of American movies and shows about what law is actually like. But actually, when I moved into sales, into a kind of a junior sales role, I joined a company called Meltwater. And Meltwater perhaps, doesn't have the best reputation. It kind of does have that 1,000 calls a day, anything for the deal type reputation. But I think what differentiated me, and I guess what led to my success, is my background actually taught me kind of firstly, a work hard ethic. The fact that people would stay till 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock in the law industry made it very easy for me to transition and do my prospecting and prep after work so that I'd have success the next day. But I also got trained to say, I don't know. And I think what I've seen in my career as I've moved into management and leadership are too many people trying to show that they know it all on day one. I know there's a lot of writing about things like onboarding and kind of ride-alongs, people joining other people's calls and trying to impersonate other people. Where I'm really trying to kind of develop my team is to kind of be yourself. And nobody knows the answers to everything. And I'm suddenly the first leader to put my hand up and say, I don't know the answer. That's why I try and hire really smart people so we can sit in a room and figure this thing out. And, we work in startups, scale-ups. There's lots of things we don't know. So, for me, where that confidence comes from is the belief that actually, and the knowledge that I don't know everything, but belief that actually with some smart people I can figure a lot of it out.
Thank you. Elaine?
Well, I started my career in recruitment in 2008, literally as the economy crashed. So nobody wanted to hire anybody, let alone an SDR with no experience. So that was a fantastic grounding in terms of building a thick skin. I've been in leadership positions since I was about 26, becoming a director of a company of 27, then founding my own company at age 29. And I think that to Jeremy's point earlier, or to Neil's point earlier, you can't have the same people growing your company from being a startup organization to an organization that's scaling. And I also think that you can't be the same leader. So, over time, my leadership style has changed from being somebody who's founding a business, setting the principles, to being somebody who's then motivating and inspiring other people to carry out the tasks and to a high standard.
Thank you. Tom?
Yeah, thank you. And thanks for inviting me on the panel. So, my journey into leadership, I've done it twice, in that I started with some small startups in the beginning, and as they grew, I was promoted to a team leader or a manager, and thought that was the direction that I wanted to go. And in actual fact, I kind of regret that now, because you don't earn as much money as a manager as you do as a kick-ass sales guy. And you're leading a good team if the people working for you are earning more money than you are. I still had a big mortgage, so I actually went back into sales for a period of time. And then when I was ready to give myself away, I went back into leadership. And I would say to you all, when you think about that as a rep in terms of how you're developing your individual career, or you're thinking about leadership, is timing is absolutely paramount. If you're not committed to it, then you won't make it a success. If you're not financially secure, you won't make that a success. And you've kind of got to decide, what is it that's driving me? And am I ready?
Thinking about the concept of confidence, and what does it mean to you personally? You know, what does that word mean, or how do you relate to it? And how do you inspire in yourself as well as others? Adam?
Yeah. It's a tough one. Sorry. I don't know if this is on.
Yeah.
Cool. I think in terms of inspiring it in others, I think a lot of it has to come from yourself. And I spoke just before about that kind of ability to say, I don't know. And I think closely tied in with that is that kind of absence of fear of failure. I'm working at Paddle now, as you said, which is, I've been there about 9 months. And it's a crazy place, right? It's a company that's grown 300% year on year for the last 5 years. My CEO is 25 years old, never done any job other than paddle. We've grown from 20 people to 150 people in a year. It's as chaotic as it sounds. And so that ability to try new things, that ability to experiment, that ability to kind of fail fast, excuse the cliche, I think actually teaches us more than successes do, right? And each failure does build the confidence, so long as it's kind of met with almost an applause, almost a kind of a recognition of success that, hey, we failed fast, which meant you saved the company 6 months, 12 months of going down that route, which we know now is wrong. So we're able to pivot into a different direction. So I really try and foster that ability to say, doesn't actually matter if you get it wrong, just get it wrong quickly and don't do it wrong twice. Because then you have the confidence to really go out there, try new things, and build that genuine confidence in yourself.
What about for yourself, Elaine?
So in terms of my confidence, I know it's an often discussed topic in leadership about the imposter syndrome. And even, when Lauren and James asked me to sit on the stage, I almost had the thought, am I actually qualified to sit on a stage and talk about leadership? But I think for me, it's certainly reflecting on the things that I have done and knowing that not only have I achieved something once, but I've managed to replicate that success with the support of my team, that gives me the confidence to think, right, well, now how can I raise the bar? How can I do it again? How can I do it better?
Fantastic. Tom?
Yeah, interesting response. For me, a number of years ago, when I think of the great leaders I've worked for in the past, they always used to have all the answers. And today, my belief, and when you've listened to people on the stage, is the great leaders of today have all the questions. You have to have the courage to get out the way and let your team be great. As sales leaders, we don't have to create clarity of vision and purpose for the company. That's for the executive team. What we need to be great at is communicating that and then getting out of the way. There's a great saying, great leaders get out the way. And I'll give you a picture is, as a sales leader, if you were to shout charge, does everybody run past you and know exactly what they're doing, or do they wait for you to make the first step? And if you're making the first step, then you haven't empowered your team and you are not a leader. Some people make the mistake of feeling like, well, rather than being out in front and being the pinnacle of the organization and just watch me and do what I do, which, as Jeremy says, means that you can't get promoted because everybody is backing up behind you. They come alongside them and they think, we'll get in the trenches together. That to me is spying. Nobody performs well when they're being spied upon. What you have to do is to stand behind them and let them go. And that takes a leap of faith on you as a confident leader. But I can tell you that even as a sales rep, you have to be able to do this as well. Let your pre-sales person go. Let your SDR go. Let them be great and give them clarity of vision. And you will be surprised at how much you learn. As a leader, I've never learned more than when I let my teams go.
That's really inspiring. And I think greatness is a lot of what many of us aspire to. I'm just going to go off script now. When I'm thinking about, or when you're thinking about individuals that walk into your room for the first time in an interview, right? I often joke, there's a fine line between sales confidence and sales arrogance. And I know sometimes I can err on that edge, but I'm better at dialing it down most of the time. Often I feel like people need to dial it up. that's why I'm keen for people, particularly in the UK, it's important as a profession that we're proud of what we do. We're major contributors to the company, to the economy, and to the success that others are able to benefit from. But there is a way to do that, and I wonder, from individuals that come into your office for the first time for an interview or in your assessment, where is the advice and urging on the side of arrogance, and actually you're looking for confidence, or what does that mean when you're looking and talking to individuals? Adam?
Yeah, and you're right, it's a tough one. It's a fine line, and often, what might be perceived by one person as confidence is perceived by another as arrogance. I think, for me, it's kind of just to pivot a little bit, it's more about authenticity, right? And if you're a truly confident person, if you're outgoing, if you're quite happy standing up and speaking in front of people, walking into kind of a boardroom full of suits, whatever it might be, then that's great, that's your strength, and perhaps sales really suits you. If perhaps you're not that type of person, and I've worked with and managed really, really successful salespeople who are, absolute mess before they go to a meeting because they're a sack of nerves, right? And they really, really don't have that confidence. Yet what they have is that ability to build genuine relationships. So again, it comes back to that point that I'm not looking for somebody as a kind of a trait. I'm looking for somebody who's authentic. I'm looking for somebody who can really say, I know I'm not the most outgoing, confident person, but actually I'm great at building relationships, I'm great at building value, and that's where I'm going to be successful. And if that fits in the way that I believe we can take our solution to market, then I'll hire them. So for me, seeing that confidence in an interview, yes, okay, there's a level you have to be able to have a human conversation and engaging, but that kind of I'm going to be center stage and I'm going to be number one isn't what I'm looking for necessarily in a salesperson.
Fantastic. Elaine?
Okay, obviously, because I run the assessment centres for SDRs, I see all sorts of extremes of behaviour in terms of people trying to present themselves as a potential asset to a business. And sometimes people can step through the door not really knowing how to explain what it is that they've been doing with the right amount of humility or where it is that they want to go. So what I always ask them to do is, okay, forget about this big 5-year, 10-year plan about how you're going to be this leader of this great big organization and be a CEO, and let's just concentrate right now on what you're going to do in the next 12 and 24 months to make yourself into a top performer. And I think at that point, people are able to switch into a more authentic version of themselves, talking about what they've been able to, the results they've been able to produce recently in their degrees, etc., and then how they're actually going to take that into the initial role. And then I think we get a better quality of interview out of a candidate.
So I would go down 2 routes around, one being competencies. So and I've got a complete mental block on what the book's called, but it's written by the ex-CRO of HubSpot. And he talks about like designing sales teams to run. He's an ex-engineer, and he talks about certain traits, like coachability, curiosity, and so on and so forth. But the key thing that I look for in a salesperson is the difference between I and we. If somebody has I language, it's all about them, what they've done, how they're going to do it. And we know in a fast-moving, growing company, you can't do it on your own. If you have we-based language, they understand that success is the revenue and the customers that they bring in. It's not about how great they are. So look for the we language. Look for people who are inclusive. My supersize of that, or the A+ on that, is have them talk about customers who are the PR darlings of their business. If they're in the press, if they've got customers who have case studies, if they have customers that speak at events, those people aren't just selling revenue. They're selling the future of that business. And you should grab them with both hands and have them work for you.
Thank you. So just to now summarise and impart a closing thought or kind of piece of advice or action that you would share with your colleagues and the attendees today, do you have a parting comment or something you would like to leave with the audience? Adam?
Yeah, sure, I guess I'll try. Based on, I guess, what we've heard this morning about enjoying what you do, I think it's really important to enjoy what you do. I've learned from experience about being in a job that's really prestigious, but I hated every second of it, and I swore to myself I'd never stay in a job that I dislike. Not saying that, of course, every day is a great day in sales, but on the whole, I really enjoy what I do. And that's really empowered me to be authentic, to be kind of myself. I'm proud to be myself, including things that I don't know, things that perhaps I'm not so confident in approaching, but looking for the answers. And I'd encourage people to do that, right? The most likely way you're going to enjoy your job is to really try and align your true natural self versus what you're going to be doing day to day versus the culture of the company. So don't be afraid to be authentic. Don't be afraid to say, I don't know, and certainly ask for help.
Yeah, very similar to my point as well in terms of like my best advice for leadership. And certainly the lesson that I've learned over the past 7 years that I've spent leading people is about that humility, about being able to recognize, when you're not on the right path, being able to recognize the achievements of other people and the part they play, and also being able to recognize your customers in your journey to success and making sure your people are motivated to make them as happy as possible.
Mine is health and safety. When you talk about health and safety, it's the responsibility of the employee and the company to create a safe working environment. Leadership is not just about the company and the leader, it's about you as an individual. Whether you are being led or you're leading, look up on Google, it's old-fashioned stuff, but it's very relevant. Situational leadership, S1 through to S4. Look at that and see how you are being led or how you think you are leading. Ask your boss or ask your team to tell you how they believe it is. And if you're not on the boundary of S3 and S4, it's your responsibility as an individual to coach your leader on how to get the best out of you. And as a leader, it's your responsibility to change the environment to make your team awesome.
This is fantastic. And I think to summarize, firstly, thank you for your honesty and sharing from your own personal experiences. It takes a lot to access those personal experiences. I think that's what's important. I think should be encouraged throughout the day. Yes, you have a job title. Yes, you work for an awesome company. Yes, your product's going to get someone more leads. But you're going to connect with individuals at a human level if you share up to a point that you're comfortable, your authentic self, and really listen and learn and show humility while you're interacting with people. It just creates a better experience for everybody. So I wish everybody a great afternoon, and thanks very much for being on the panel. If I can have a round of applause, please, for Adam, Elaine, and Tom.